Alrighty, so well, there's nobody in here yet, so that's cool. Bibster's Repair Shop. What's up, dude? How's it going? How's life in the tractor business? Gargoyle 84. Infant. What's up, fellas? How's everybody doing this morning on a this morning, afternoon, depending on where you are, on a fine Saturday, cold Saturday before Christmas? Bipster is just working on tractors. Family Christmas Day, had to head in early. Yeah, nothing wrong with that. Let's see, Mike St. Croix, Randall Vandergriff, JG Mopar, what's up, dude? Let's see, Haas Coleman, hello to all. Randall Vandergriff says, do you want a Mosrite style guitar? I don't know, man. It's not. I'm not like. I'm not. I know offset. Offsets are real popular right now. It's. I certainly don't have anything against them. I still really like my. My Charvel Skatecaster, which is kind of a modern upgrade on, modern take on the old Fender Surfcaster, or Charvel Surfcaster rather, from the early '90s. Which is again kind of a continuation of the offset style guitars, the Firebirds, Reverse Firebirds, Jaguars, Jazzmasters, those are all in there too. So, I don't know. I like them. I don't. They're probably not something that I actively go out and search for, but, yeah, the Mosrites are cool. I've actually played. Well, when I was at the store, we had what year was that thing? I can't remember exactly what year. I want to say it was like a '64 or something like that. It was a '60s model Mosrite Ventures guitar. It was a really cool guitar. The only thing, the neck on that thing was weird. Not uncomfortable. It's certainly it's certainly playable, but it was like really really narrow across the nut and really fat. So it was kind of like a great big U shaped neck. Probably the closest thing I could compare it to. Anyway, so if you ask me if I want one, not something I'm actively shopping for. If somebody were to give me one, I would certainly be grateful and and accept it. I'd certainly find a use for it. Yeah, Mosrites are great, especially if it was one with the Soap Bar P90 style pickups in it. I don't have a guitar with P90s in it. Let's see. Gargoyle 84 says he's not hungover, surprisingly. Mike St. Croix says window shopping 412 cabs. Awesome. I would probably shop 412 cabs more often than I do if I had room to put any more. But I've got two 412s, and they take up a lot of space. So JG Mopar says Mesa oversized 412 the best. Hard to argue with that. I mean, the Mesa Boogie, the rectifier, the oversized rectifier 412 cab is one of if not the best sounding 412 cab on the planet. I gotta agree with that. That's a great sounding cab. RR is here, says, how's the weather up there? We got snow earlier this week, so we're still, most of it's melted off by now. There's still a little bit hanging around. It's warmed back up some. But when it was snowing, it was cold. Now it's back up into the 30s-ish, upper 30s, I think. So, Haas Coleman says, Robert, when are you doing a review of on your Dean? If you're talking about the Dean Cadillac, well, I mean, I'm not going to review it, but I do plan on demoing it. The problem is, I was actually going to do that several weeks back, not long after I got it, but the problem that I discovered with it, the intonation on that thing is way out. And I mean way out. Whoever intonated it had no idea what they were doing. And it happens. It's not a big deal. I can fix it. It's just I just haven't had time to sit down and do it. So once I am able to find time to sit down and get that thing set up and, playing properly, then I will get that video up. So I am. Speaking of videos, actually a lot of you guys probably didn't see the video that I put up earlier this week on this Fifine K9 690, I think is what it's called. K690, I think is the model number. USB microphone. So, and I say most of you guys didn't see it because most anybody didn't see it because that video really tanked. But in that video, I said that I was going to be using this microphone for this podcast for this live stream here today as a continuation of the demo of that video, just to see how it performs. I guess I probably should have added that to the title of the video, but I didn't. Anyway, so far it seems to be working pretty well. I don't, I see the little level gauge on the audio on this thing, bouncing across. I thought I was gonna have to go in and change a bunch of settings to get this set up, but truth is it didn't. I just plugged it in and USB, so I just plugged it in and off it went. And I disabled my microphone on my interface, the Aston Stealth that I usually use. And here we are. So, in the meantime, I'm sure when I go back to use my my regular setup for a live stream next week, I'm sure it will have thrown off a whole bunch of settings that I didn't know about, and then I'll be pissed. But until then, Mike St. Croix says, yeah, I hear a lot of people like the Mesa oversized. I currently have a used crate that has weird carpet instead of Tolex. If that's a carpeted 412, that's an old cabinet. Crate used to carpet like everything. It might be the Stealth cabinet now that I think about it. The old crate Stealths, which are real hard to find, was one of their earlier, maybe earliest tube amps. And those amps they're real popular now and real hard to find now because they were designed by Lee Jackson. And that was a carpeted head, and I believe the 412 cabinet that he designed to go with it was also carpeted. So it might be the Stealth cab. Let's see. Let's see. Guitar Play is here. Guitar Sickness. Tone Electronics is here. It says Fuzz Factory is such an underrated pedal. You must be new here. JG Mopar says you can find the Mesa cabs decent price used. Most people seem to be getting rid of 412 cabs and going 212. That's a lot. Yeah, that's true. That is kind of starting to become a trend. And I get it. I mean, I use a 212 a lot more often than I use a 412 these days as well. Last few times I gigged, I took out my 212 just because it was a small enough gig, and I didn't feel like messing with lugging the 412 out of the room and down the stairs and all that stuff. So. Tone Electronics says, no, believe me, I'm not. I'm a dermer, man. Before I click the go live button, I tried something new, and I posted the link to this live stream in a bunch of Facebook groups, and one of those groups is Pedal Birds of Durham. So Tone Electronics is one of those guys. Those guys know how I feel. They always like to kind of poke me in the ribs about my my feelings towards the Fuzz Factory. So gotta love that group. What's up, man? If this is your first time hanging out on this live stream with us, welcome to you. Guitar Sickness says, I'm still enjoying my Schecter CR6. I'm still enjoying mine as well. I've had mine about a year now, and that guitar's been rock solid, man. It's been a great guitar. I've done a lot of videos of that guitar in the last year or so. Gargoyle84 says, have you reviewed the Seymour Duncan Black Winter pickup? I've only done a few pickup videos. Videos on pickups are really, really difficult because, what it sounds like here in my environment and what it sounds like in my guitar, and, what it sounds like in the video is, there's no way to translate, what a pickup will do, how a pickup will sound in your setup. It's just, you just can't. There's just no good way to to be able to capture that, because pickups being they are what they are. So I mean, honestly, I try not to. I don't really do a whole lot of pickup videos. The reason is, that's one reason, and the other reason, I've had a lot of people request them, but they. The truth is, every time I post a pickup video, it almost always tanks. So, the last one I posted, there was a lot of work that went into that one, and it just wasn't worth it. So, that said, the Seymour Duncan Black Winter pickups are pretty good. But I love just about everything from Seymour Duncan. B Smiley III says, if a tree falls and no one else is around to hear it, does the tree even exist? What was that one I heard recently? If a tree falls in the forest, there's no one, there's no forest around to exist, or there's no one around to hear it. Is the husband still wrong? RR says, I know everyone uses a drive pedal, but can I get your opinion of putting a boost before the drive? Number one, not everybody uses a drive pedal. There are plenty of people out there that, and I know I demo a lot of distortion pedals and overdrive pedals and stuff like that, and I do enjoy them. But realistically, I try to, distortion pedals and overdrive pedals are usually alternate gain tones for me in a pedal rig. I try to use the amp distortion, the amp's gain stages before anything else. So if you're using a drive pedal, especially an overdrive, a real popular trend right now is to do the Stevie Ray Vaughan thing with pick your favorite overdrive pedal, crank the level, dump the gain on it, and then run it in the front end of a modern high gain amp. And the theory behind it being that it tightens up the bottom end. And I don't really subscribe to that that method, because number one, I think the difference that you hear is nominal, and number two, I think while it may tighten the bottom end, it also muddies up. It makes a lot of those other frequencies a lot harder to a lot more. You lose clarity in the rest of the some other areas of the EQ spectrum. So, it's boost. I mean, I guess what I'm saying is, I tend to use boosts for boosts. Either gain boosts or volume boosts. So if you're using it for that method, for that application, then, putting it before your drive is, I mean, that's, put it before your drive for a gain boost, put it after your drive for a volume boost, or in the effects loop if your amp has one, so that's typically how I use them. The other thing with using EQ pedal, or I'm sorry, using overdrive pedals as, as a boost, even turning the gain all the way down, level all the way up, all those overdrive pedals all have a certain EQ curve to them already. And you're adding that to your amp's tone, which, theoretically you can tweak it on the amp itself and dial it back out in some cases, but not all. So nothing wrong with it. It's just not the way that I like to do it. Guitar Sickness says, texted you before I bought it for your thoughts. Thanks. Awesome. I don't know who. I'm beginning to wonder if we know each other, because I don't. I've had a lot of people ask me about that guitar, the CR6, but. Let's see. Hey, Gary Shelley's here. What's up, Gary? Dave Escobar's here. Happy Saturday to you as well, sir. Tone Electronics says, okay, got a question for you. Have you ever tried a Boss GT1000 Core? If so, what are your thoughts of it? Do you think it stands up against, say, an HX Stomp? It's the same. I haven't tried it yet, but that's the direction it's going. With the Helix stuff, of course you got the Helix. Hey, dude, JG Mopar, thank you so much, man. Thank you so much. JG Mopar just popped the donation cherry for this live stream and sent it straight to my PayPal account. So thank you very, very much for the support, dude. I really, really appreciate it. Especially right now, times are tough. And also, links. If you want to support the channel, you can click the little dollar bill icon down there below the chat, and go that route, or check out the links like the PayPal link in the description. Should you choose to do so. Anyway, back to the GT1000 stuff. The GT1000 is Boss's, that's their highest endest, toppest, bestest, qualityest effects engine that they're putting in that. That's their latest and greatest. And it is, it does sound, the GT1000 does sound really, really good if you're into processors. I'm not a processor guy, but, plenty of people are. And I don't deny that Zoe... I don't deny that those people do get some great sounds out of them. I just hate tweaking the damn knobs that much. So basically, it's that exact same effects engine that they put into the GT1000 Core, which is again just a more condensed version of it. I think you're giving up some signal routing, and I think it's got amps and I think it has amps I think it's got amps and cabs and effects and everything in it. I think the biggest thing that you're giving up is just not as much of that stuff, and like I said, a lot of the signal routing, the IR stuff isn't in that, but the effects engine is the same. There, I thought there was a, here it is. Forgive me, I had to yell at my dog. This thing has a really, really handy mute switch that I suppose I can mute that when I'm interface, but, it's kind of nice having it right here in front of me. Let's see. Guitar Sickness says, I just got my Kiesel Series yesterday and never realized how much I needed her. Kiesel guitars play real well. I've only gotten my hands on a couple of them, but they do seem to play pretty well. I've never owned one, so I've never owned one, and hope to come across one of these days, but it's never been a priority. So. All right, I'm out of room. I've had enough companies, been fortunate enough to have some people send me some guitars lately. You guys are going to see a demo of a guitar that I got. You guys are going to see that video go up tomorrow. But I'm out of room, so Guitar Gear Guyan Says, hey to a fellow Boss pedal lover. My favorite is the DS1X. It's just killer. DS1 really is my least loved. Which ones are your favorites? Oh yeah, the BD2W is also just amazing, really loud. Favorite Boss distortion pedals are, no question, the Boss, the Wazacraft Metal Zone, by far my favorite. By far my favorite Boss distortion pedal. Man, God. The OD200 is really, really good too. There's some really, really cool sounds out of that. As far as distortion, the Power Stack, I use the Power Stack as my main distortion for a long time. I just got the Mega Distortion earlier this year. I'd actually never owned that one, but that one is pretty cool. Yeah, so, of course, DS1's a classic. DS1 actually sounds really good in the effects loop. So that's actually a good preamp. As far as overdrives, SD1's always been a classic. Blues Drivers, of course, my still my very favorite. Yeah. So. Oh, and the what is it, the OS2? Yeah, the overdrive distortion, overdrive/distortion. That's kind of an overlooked pedal. That one's got some really good sounds in it. So, and the Anger Driver's badass, which I'm going to demo that here, hopefully in the coming weeks. Jack Collins, what's up, man? Says, hello, Robert, Louisiana. Hope everything is well with you. Doing pretty okay, sir. On this fine morning, Zoe got her, Zoe got her fur cut. She got groomed this morning, so she's all ready for Christmas, which meant I had to get out of bed earlier than normal on a Saturday, which basically probably wasn't going to kill me. Yeah, so I'm just sitting here testing out this new Fifine K690 microphone, and hanging out with you guys. So. Spike Duvall says, I have a 55 Guild flat top D40. Can't find very much on the guitar. Have you ever come across any in that year before? It was made out of the Hoboken factory in Jersey. If it was 1955, that would have been earlier in Guild's life. Guild, unfortunately, is it Guild? Yeah, Guild have moved. They've changed locations, like changed factory locations, literally like six times, I think. One time they got forced out of New York because of the mobs. The mobs who were coming, they were coming digging into their pockets for protection money. So they were forced out of New York. Which I think that's how they wound up at Waverly. And I don't know. There's actually a real long history behind them. I'm not. I'll be honest though. I'm not an expert on vintage guilds. What I can tell you is most of those recordings that you heard back in those days from the 50s, especially the 60s, and the 70s, the 60s in particular. If you heard a 12-string acoustic on any, pick your favorite record from that era, chances are it was probably a Guild. So, but as far as what it might be worth or anything, unfortunately, that I don't know. I'd recommend call Groons. Call Groon Guitars in Nashville. They'll actually, what they'll do, they'll have you take a bunch of photos, some detailed photos, and send them to them, and then they will actually give you a certified appraisal for it. They'll do it for a fee. They don't do it for free, but if you send all that stuff to them, they'll be able to give you a pretty good value, pretty good estimate, and an appraisal. Again, with a certified appraisal document, to go along with it. So. If you really want to find out the value on something like that, that's probably going to be your best route. It's going to cost you a little bit of money, but, something like that, it might be worth it. B. Smiley III says, I have to use indoor apartment gear like amp modeling pedals. Can't do real amps here, sadly. I used to play my B-52 412 half stack in my apartment all the time. I was kind of tried to pick my the times of day that I practiced, but my neighbors still hated me, so I never got in any trouble. Sorry, had to text the boss. Alrighty, where was I? Tone Electronics says, well, if you need some EQ sculpting and boost, there are pedals to do that. They're called equalizers. Agreed. They are called EQ pedals. EQ pedals are great for that. So, but I'm talking about, tube screamers especially, because, the tube screamers are known. They've got that real nasty hump in the mids, and some people love that frequency, that spike in that particular frequency, and other people hate it. As in later years, like, the Way Huge Green Rhino, for example, they've got a knob that specifically controls that frequency that you can turn it up or down. On their, on the Green Rhino was their tube screamer clone. So, people that just grab a good old fashioned TS9 and, and run the boost, run it as a boost in the front end of their amp. They're also boosting the mids, which is, in some amps is okay. And, in other instances, I think it, could be a little too much. So, people, and every EQ circuit is different as far as, its own natural internal EQ curve. It's going to have it. And that EQ curve affects, the overall tone. So, if you're just looking for a good old-fashioned flat boost, again, EQ pedals are great for that. And a lot of just plain old boost pedals, like the Spark Mini Booster, for example, great for those things. I shared the link to this live stream in several groups on Facebook before we started. One of those groups is Pedal Boards of Doom, and there are plenty of people in that group that hate me. So, my phone's, I'm getting Facebook alerts from people in that group right now. So I don't know if they're trolling me, or if they're, who knows? I don't know. We'll see. I'll worry about catching up on those alerts later. B Smiley says, I would buy a Strymon Iridium if it had more amp models. I don't want Fender or Marshall models. The Iridium, is that their, yeah, that's their IR, their cab sim thing they came out with. Well, been out about a year or so now, maybe not quite that long. John Cassidy says, hi Robert, enjoy your broadcast. Been a Fender guitar and amp guy for 50 years. Nothing wrong with that, man. I'm not much of a Fender guy, though. I don't know. I mean, it's one of those things that, I certainly I like Fender amps, and I've always appreciated, and guitars. I've always appreciated them as much as anybody else. They just typically don't fit my style that much. Though I would really like to have a nice Strat. As far as amps go, I love the clean sounds on like the Deluxe reverbs, the twin reverb. Deluxe reverb is the best-selling amplifier of all time, by the way, if you didn't know that. So, yeah, great stuff, man. Not for everybody. There's plenty of people out there that don't like it, but, great. And Fender's cranked out a lot of great gear over the years. I'd love to have a Deluxe or something laying around just for the clean tone from time to time. Gargoyle 84 says, that new mic sounds awesome. It even censors out the bad words. I don't know if it censors out the bad words, but it does censor out, me, when I need to turn around, clear my throat, and yell at the dog and that kind of stuff, which this one, I got to put a little more effort into doing that. Though I love that Aston Stealth. I love that microphone. By far my favorite microphone. But this one is actually really, really handy. It seems to be working pretty well and just sits right there on the desk. Kind of a shame I'm going to get rid of it as soon as this thing's done. J.D. Mopar says, my first custom guitar was a Carvin from 1988. Those old Carvin custom, no, I guess some of them are older than others, but some were newer than others. But yeah, man, that was for a long time. If you wanted a custom built guitar, Carvin was the way to go. You were married to it. Because those things, for whatever reason, Carvin guitars value absolutely tanked, from the minute you pull it out of the box. And if you bought one new, you were married to it because you were never going to see most of that money out of it ever again. But Now all of a sudden Kiesels got popular, so the old Carvins got popular, and now all of a sudden the values of those skyrocketed on the used market. So Charles 75N is here. Welcome, sir. Topher Taylor is here. Guitar player says, damn, always room for another guitar. I didn't say I wouldn't figure something out. I just said right now I'm out of room. Topher Taylor says, any chance of review on the Cadillac? Second one today to ask that. Yeah, it needs a lot of setup work. Whoever was it that set it up before they sent it to me. Let me rephrase that. Whoever was that set it up before the viewer that sent it to me, because I know he didn't do it. It wasn't his fault. They had no idea what they were doing when it came to intonation, and it is way out of whack. I actually went to go do the video on that guitar several weeks back, and it was so horribly intonated and out of tune because of it. Even I couldn't overlook it. And I've been known to post a video with a guitar slightly out of tune every now and again, but but it was bad, and so it's going to need some work, and unfortunately I just haven't had time to sit down and do it, so hopefully I'm going to try to get to that here in the next couple of weeks, but so yes, just it's going to be a little bit. JG Mopar says, Boss Power Stack pedal sounds awesome, but in certain amps, Metalcore sounds good too. Metalcore is a good pedal for, I think it's a fun pedal to mess around with at home, but there is no mid-range in that thing whatsoever, at least not, and I've put it in every amp that I've got and cranked the mids all the way up, and it's still way scooped out. It is a really, really scooped distortion, so, which I have a tough time. I have a tough time recording with it anyway, and certainly cutting through a mix. But Mike St. Croix says his cab model is a GT 412 RS, bought from a local shop when the previous owner was retiring. Loaded it with U.S.-made PV Sheffields and sold it to me for $100. Well, PV Sheffields are a good speaker. That's not, regardless of what logo's on the outside of the cab, $100 for that thing is a pretty good deal. I wouldn't be in a hurry to get rid of it. But the Mesa Boogie 412 we were talking about earlier is certainly going to sound a lot different. So, it would give you another option if you're looking for something a little different. Oh man, I've got the most ferocious little white 16-pound dog on the planet. She hears another dog barking outside. That's why she's going crazy right now. Mikey Gabbard says my local Craigslist has a Boss adaptive distortion. That's a good one too. For $100 on a Boss JHS2 JB2. That's the Angry Driver. For $140, which one you guys think I should get? I'd get the Angry Driver. Angry Driver is going to cover more ground. Definitely going to cover more ground than the adaptive distortion. The idea behind the adaptive distortion is it's supposed to feel more like a tube amp, and when you dig in, and your picking attack, it gets a little harder and faster. The idea being that it breaks up a little bit more, and it does do a pretty good job of simulating that. But if you're looking for tonal versatility, I'd get the Angry Driver. Those Angry Drivers are holding the value pretty well too, by the way. Gary Shelley says, I'm using the Boss Metal Zone in front of my dirty channels. Interesting. Kirk Weinstein, Crowbar, Cannibal Corpse style seems to be working out pretty well, but I also want to try out the Max on TS9 Pro. I don't know what the Max on TS9 Pro is. I mean, I know what TS9 is, but Unless that's, I don't know what that is, what you're referring to, but it sounds cool. Hey, you had me at Metal Zone. Guitar Sickness says, I have 43 guitars right now. I'm out of room in my studio, and my 2 half stacks occupy my bedrooms. Bass does present problems collecting. Sick disease, but I love them. That's about how many. I'm up to about 40 something now too, and my walls are full. My my walls in my room are full, and now I've got a rack out here on the floor next to me that you guys can't see. That's that one's full. 2 guitar stands behind me got guitars in them. I got another stand over there with a guitar in it next to my couch. It's my couch acoustic. I'm running out of room, so I probably need to consider selling off a few, and those money I'd get for those would probably do good to go towards the Les Paul fund. Jack Collins says, Robert, I like your new mic. It sounds good. What year model Jackson Warrior was you looking for? It was made in Korea with Duncan design pickups. I don't know that I ever had a specific year in mind for a Jackson Warrior. I was always more concerned. I just like the model. Something Japan. If it's an import, I prefer it to be an older one. An older one from Japan, preferably a WR5, which is the neck through model from Japan. The WR3s are okay, but that's the bolt-on version. I'd much prefer the neck through. So Duncan, if it's got Duncan design pickups in it, that tells me it's probably that's probably one of the newer like the newer ones made in Mexico or India or China or something, one of those places, one of the newer ones in the Fender era. So, which that's one that I probably wouldn't be interested in. I love Seymour Duncan, but I'm not a fan of the import Duncan design pickups. Let's see. No One Is Awake says, bought a $600 Gibson T20 1955, no gain. I don't know. Give 55. Is that an amp? That must be one of the older Gibson combo amps. I'm not familiar with that. I played some of those older Gibson combos, but I don't think I've ever played through anything that old. Back then, 1955, amps didn't really have gain. If you want to gain, Bassman, cranked up Bassman, that was pretty much your option. Break up the power tubes as much as you could, and that's the best you could do. JG Mopar says, I hear you. I'm at the point I need to get a warehouse for my stuff. What's the matter? You're opening up the window and you're overexposing my camera shot. Come here. Come here. Come on. You want to say hi to everybody? There's a little girl dog, freshly groomed. And she's all happy and all that stuff and ready for Christmas. So, aren't you? Yeah, you are. Yeah, you are. Yep, you are my friend. Alrighty, see, where was I? Tone Electronics says if you have people hating you in Pedalboards of Doom, you're doing something right for sure. I got a lot of people hating me in that group. A lot of people. My Fuzz Factory video gets shared in that group about once or twice a year, usually with the intent of, somebody trying to sick their personal army on me. So they all go and watch my video, and then they troll me in the comments. In the meantime, my analytics on that video go. And I just sit back and laugh. I think it's hilarious. People that get that butthurt over that video. Although if that one made you mad, the one that you guys are the video that I got going up next week, you guys are really not gonna like that one. Dave Escobar says, for my collection, I'd like another USA BC Rich Gunslinger. I'd like one of those too. Another Kramer Pacer Imperial. I think some run Boss DS1 with too much gain and too trebly. It is very easy for that pedal to get trebly. Tone around 9, lower the gain, less fizz. And that's typically about how I run that pedal too. I honestly I haven't used mine in a while, and it's one of those that's. I like the DS1. For the most part, I've always liked the DS1. It's never been a go-to pedal, but it's one of those things that's a good one to have laying around in case you need it. So, especially for $50 or whatever whatever they cost these days, they're not expensive. Hey, Joel Eakins is here. Says I've been using the Strymon Iridium since it came out. It's fantastic. I think Joel uses his in his live rig direct. Look, Twin Reverb's a killer. B Smiley says Deluxe and Twin Reverbs are killer, but I would get them for surf tones and more heavy stuff at the moment. No, yeah, you wouldn't buy a Deluxe or a Twin Reverb for for hard rock or metal or anything unless you're planning on using it strictly as a pedal platform and most of your tones coming from your pedals. Yeah, no, you don't buy those amps, and tend to use those as your bass tone for hard rock and metal. JG Mopar says no resale on Carvins. That's for sure. I got it for playing, not resale. That's really what most people did. What most people did. Especially back in those days. But like I said, nowadays, all of a sudden, with Kiesel shooting up in popularity, now the Carvins that you couldn't give away, mostly just because nobody. A lot of people weren't familiar with them, and those that were just knew that they just didn't resell well. But now all of a sudden people are paying, starting to pay real money on the used market for those guitars. So, we had a DC 600 at the store one time that I think we resold it for $400, $399. I've been kicking myself ever since for not buying it, because now that same guitar on the used market, Carvin DC 600, is worth like almost double that. So, and I love that. I love DC 600. It's just a fantastic guitar. Ring Hard says, made any videos on your guitar collection? I did one in 2018. Matter of fact, that was the title of the video, My Guitar Collection 2018. That you can check out. That's it hasn't really changed too much since then. There's a few additions that aren't in that video, and I think one or two in that video that I no longer have, but for the most part, most of it is still pretty close. So, which is also the reason why I haven't done an update on it. So, Joe Ennis is here. Says, "Hi, Robert. Joe Ennis from North Hollywood, California. What's up, man? Welcome from North Hollywood. Welcome to North Hollywood, California." Savinity Guitars is here. Dopey Taylor says, get him Zoe. John McDonough's here from London. Welcome, sir. Mike St. Croix says, I'm terrible at selling off my gear. I've had to learn to get pretty good at it, to get better at it anyway, because I had the same problem. I would just keep it for, you know, not for the sake of hoarding, but just to, never know when a use might pop up. And now it's getting to the point. There's some things laying around that I know I'm never going to use. I have no interest in using, and that I do have listed. This microphone. This thing does seem to be working really, really well, but I'm not gonna start using this thing in favor of my Aston Stealth that I spent a bunch of money on. So. And the purpose of me using it here on this live stream again was, partially for demo purposes, just so you guys can hear how it works in a live stream / podcast / gaming kind of style environment. This mic really competes with the Blue Yeti, which is really, really popular among the gaming community. So, let's see. Serenity Guitar says Mando was great. Mandalorian season finale was freaking awesome, man. That was one of the best season finales I've ever seen of any series ever. That was, I'm with you, that was great. I enjoyed every minute of it. Every minute of it. It was kind of like, all, various different eras of my, various different eras of my childhood. all combining for one episode. Gary Shelley says, Maxton ST9 Pro. I don't know, I'm not familiar with the ST9. I know a lot, the Maxton 9 series are real similar to a lot of the Ibanez 9 series, but B. Smiley says, I have many Duncan design pickup guitars and replaced them all. Didn't like any of them. Yeah, like I said, I'm not a fan of Duncan design guitars because they're Duncan design pickups anyway. I mean, most of the ones I've heard are just really, really muddy. They just don't seem to have a whole lot of clarity to them. And I get it. They're most of them are meant to be cheap. Much more inexpensive import versions of their American made pickup line. So, I get it. It makes sense for them to have, pickups like that, especially because I think with Seymour Duncan's policy with the guitar companies, I believe is, if Jackson, for example, wants to use a Seymour Duncan JB and a 59 set in their next upcoming model of the Jackson Dinky or whatever it is. I believe that Seymour Duncan's policy is that guitar has to retail for at least $7.99. It might even be $8.99 now. Before Duncan will allow Jackson to use those pickups in that guitar. So, Seymour Duncan has a standard of what guitars their pickups are going in. And that standard's not anything unreasonable by any means, but, they don't want, they don't want to be selling pickups to a guitar company in bulk at dealer cost, to see them go on a bunch of $200 and $300 guitars. That's, that doesn't do anybody any good, So I think most pickup companies have that policy, and it's a different price point for everybody. But JG Mopar says my cat sits in my lap and watches every Saturday. Zoe would sit in my lap. This office chair here is not the most. I mean, she has sat in my lap here, but with me, trying to drive here at the same time, it's not the most comfortable place in the world for her to sit for any extended period. She will if I had her to, if I had her do so. But she's very loyal and very, for the most part, very obedient. But it wouldn't be the most comfortable place in the world for her, which is why she ran back downstairs to go back to lay down on the couch. Mark Crockett says, I've heard the quality of G&L is actually better than Fender, so why is the resale value so low on them? It depends. The American-made G&Ls, if we're talking about like a G&L Legacy or an ASAT or something, that's their Strat and Tele model respectively. There's G&L players are diehard G&L people, and they think that G&Ls are Fenders the way the Fenders are supposed to be built. That said, that philosophy does not weigh, doesn't seem to, Fender responded basically, and Fender has, I think it really has upped their quality quite a bit, and in recent years, and like the new line of the new Fender Ultra Series guitars. I mean, those are some of the best guitars Fender's ever put out. I think Fender's quality right now is about as good as it's ever been. So, a lot of it is just the name. A lot of it is, a lot of people don't, they're not nearly as familiar with G&L as they are Fender. And, especially for more inexperienced players, they think G&Ls are Fender knockoffs. So, which we all know they're not. But, I don't, it's one of those things. I don't know. PRSs don't resell on the used market nearly as well as Gibsons, despite the fact that PRSs are in a lot of cases a much higher quality, much better made guitar. It's just that's the power of marketing, is what it is. That is the power of marketing. Fender and Gibson. Nobody is ever going to out. You probably throw Martin in there as well, Martin and Taylor, but in the electric guitar world, Fender and Gibson, nobody's ever going to outmarket either of those two names. It's not going to happen. They're the biggest. They're always going to be the biggest for the most likely anyway. The power. It's just the power of the brand. Reverend Jeffrey's Guitar Show is here. Welcome to you. I think that's a new face on these here live streams. Edgar Forster is here. Hey, Cool Guitar here is here. What's up, Brian? Says, I went for it. Bought a Dean's Olinsky Imperial gold top. Big body but thin. I like the sound of the pickups. About $225 near mint. That's not a bad deal on that guitar, dude. In fact, that's a real good deal. The Imperials are, they're like a great big oversized single cut Les Paul style, but they're literally about that thin, at the edges. So, they're kind of an interesting single cut design, but they do play pretty well. They're kind of cool. Tone Electronics, good, cool dude. Glad you popped in and are hanging out, and derm on. Renee Bodinger says, did you ever play a Diesel dmall? If yes, what's your opinion on that amp? I've never played a dmall, unfortunately. I've heard several of them, and they sound pretty badass. If I were in the market to spend big money, spend big money on a high gain head like that, dmall is probably one that I would consider. Just because the Herbert and the VH4s are, so astronomically priced. Dmalls are expensive too, but they're not as expensive as those other two. So, I've heard a few of them, and like I said, I've never played through one, but I've heard a few of them, and they do sound pretty kick-ass. Plus they're a little bit smaller, and as I already mentioned, a little bit more inexpensive than those other models that I mentioned. So, I think that's kind of what the niche of that amp is supposed to be. Is a very, very good, slightly less expensive alternative to those other big name flagship models. They've also got another one called the Hagen that I heard a time or two. The Hagen, that sounds really, really good. At least I think they're still making that one. Let's see. So Vanity Guitar says, what would y'all name a selector pedal? I built one and need to send it to Robert, but I can't decide on a name. Man. Well, you can't name it the Swiss Things. That one's already taken, though. Where the inspiration behind that name came from on a switcher pedal, I have no idea. Switchblade's taken. Yeah, I don't know. I'd have to give that one some thought. Hopefully some of these other guys, these other folks here have some ideas for you. You guys got quiet. Adley Scott McIntyre joined the fray, though. So that's good at least. What's up, dude? Where are we? We are there, about 38 viewers. 39. Not bad. Epitome says... OffTracks. Okay, I don't know. Oh, Bag of Tricks. There you go, Bag of Tricks. That's not a bad name for it. Guitar Sickness says, does anyone own a Randall RG 1003 solid state amp head? Recently picked one up and sounds great. Those are, the newer ones, of course, are imports. The original Randall RG series were the old American-made ones that were... those are the amps that Dimebag played. They're pretty popular on the used / vintage market today for that reason. And a lot of other people used them too, but he's definitely the most notable, and so that's why they're popular. The newer ones, I think there are some differences in the circuits. In the circuit, they sound, so I mean they're definitely more modernized, but they do, I do like the sound of them. I think they're, especially for solid state amps that are on the market today, those are pretty good. They've got the 100 watt that you got, and I think there's also a 150 and a 300. And then they've got I think it's a 150 watt. I can't remember. I think it's 150 watt, like the pedal version, the pedal board version of it. So. Matthew Perkins in the super chat. Thank you, sir. Says, asked on Phil McKnight's stream, but curious your thoughts as well. Do hand-soldered electronics versus PCB plug and play affect tone noticeably? No, I don't believe so. The advantage to hand-wired, the reason why hand-wired amps are generally more expensive is because there's obviously a lot more labor. They're a lot more labor intensive, and there's a lot more that goes into getting one of those things wired. And the advantage to them on the back end is if something ever goes out, it's a lot easier to repair versus a PCB. A PCB board amp. Those, if something goes out on the board, you may be able to fix it. You might just be a component that you might need to replace or something. But if it's something related to the board itself, you're screwed. Because you can't just go. It's kind of hard to go out and buy a new PCB for say, I don't know, a Great Blue Voodoo, for example. And if you do, even if you were to find one, it's going to be, there's a lot of stuff that has to, external components that are also soldered onto those boards that have to come off, and then would have to be reinstalled back onto the new one. It's a big hassle, But that said, PCBs are typically pretty stable and I've actually never seen that situation when somebody had, when a PCB board itself went out. So as far as affecting tone, no. The higher price tag on the Handwired amps, I think, gives a lot of players placebo effect that it sounds better. But I mean, I don't believe that it's better quality sound, tone, or otherwise. I mean, the other thing, one of those PCB technology is a lot, it's a lot more modern. For example, Mesa Boogies are PCB. Does it, so basically, the question you're asking, does a dual rectifier sound better than a pre-1974 Marshall Plexi that was hand wired? I mean, that's, you're comparing apples and oranges there. So. Jack Collins says, Robert, what are your thoughts about the Dimebag Darrell Razorback edition called... Dog's driving me crazy today. Where was I? Sorry about that. Robert, what is your thoughts on the Dimebag Darrell Razorback edition called Skulls? It's got skulls all over it. I have one of them for sale. Man, there's been so many different Razorbacks over the years. I can't keep them all straight. I really like the Razorbacks. I really like my 10K commemorative. I don't play it very much, just because it's big. It's a big guitar, but I've always liked Razorbacks. Mine has the V-neck on it, which is kind of different, and a different playing experience altogether. That's a great guitar. Razorbacks, I think, are great stage guitars. But the one that you're talking about, I don't, I can't recall off the top of my head. So, but I don't recall any of those, any of those finishes, the Razorback finishes that I absolutely despised. So, other than maybe, the Confederate flag one, I think is, society has moved on, and it's, it's a little bit dated. Hey. So, Zoe, what are you getting all excited about? There's not even anybody out there. Okay? Not even anybody out there. The Confederate flag Dimebag guitars, I think it's, times have changed since those were made, and I think those are a little inappropriate in a lot of places. But but beyond that, I can't recall any of them that I've never. I can't recall any of them, that I just absolutely hated. So. B. Smiley in the super chat says, if a hermit crab finds a shell to live in, is he a renter or a squatter? I'm stealing that one. Oh boy. Guitar Singer says, which PRS? Pick one of the Les Paul models. The SC2, single cut. SC245s. The even the McCarthy. The McCarthys. The McCartys rather. A lot of those things. I mean, you pay $4,500 for one of those brand new. I mean, you'd be lucky to get 25 back out of it. If you sell it used. So. James Severin is here. What's up, dude? Epitome says, any types of drop-in bridges that may help? Oh, yes, another question above that I missed. I'm sorry. Getting rid of a PRS SE, just can't vibe with the wraparound bridge. Any thoughts? If you're not digging honestly, if you're not digging the wraparound bridge, I mean, there's really no. I don't know, man. You might be able to drop in like a Stats bar or something. Stats bar, one of those companies, may have a tremolo thing that you can made for that guitar that that you could swap out with it. But beyond that, any other kind of bridges that that you would need to install on that guitar, because there's only 2 posts. I mean, there's 2 holes. That's that's what you got to work with. Anything else, you're gonna have to route something out. Or do some serious. It's gonna take some serious modification. At that point, honestly, if it's gonna, if it's getting to the point you got to start routing stuff out. I mean, I'd move on from it. So that's just me, though. So I'm not about to go to the trouble to route out a slot for a new, or even drill additional holes for a Tone Pros or something. Guitar Sickness says I have an SC Custom 24 and I put some bare knuckle juggernauts in it. Sounds sick. Bare knuckle pickups all bare knuckle pickups are freaking flamethrowers, man. Christopher Morrow is here. Says, "Good afternoon, Robert. What are your thoughts on the musical historical significance of Django Reinhardt?" Very, very little. I'll be honest with you. I'm vaguely familiar with Django Reinhardt by name, but I couldn't tell you a single thing he's played. I never got into that old, any of that older, like country blues type stuff, man. I mean, if for me, I got into music. I got into music in the '80s. Michael Jackson was my first, was the first guy that whose music I really, really got into, and then I, from there that migrated me, into some of the new wave stuff that was coming out at the time, like NXS and The Cure and Depeche Mode. And so I was kind of getting into that '80s stuff, Flock of Seagulls, some of that stuff that nobody, a lot of those bands nobody's heard from since. And then a buddy of mine gave me my first Metallica record, when I was about, I don't know, 7. It was they were it was Master Puppets. Master Puppets came out not long after it, and I've been a hard rock metal guy ever since. So, and I've never been into country music, so I am the wrong guy to ask. I certainly don't want to be disrespectful because I know a lot of people love that guy, but Savannah Guitar says Handwired is a lot faster to diagnose than PCB, especially surface mount components. Tone might be like 0.00001 difference due to distance, but no difference, just faster diagnose and repair. Yeah, so there you go. There's from a guy who builds guitar pedals and stuff like that professionally. Joey Van Ostrand's here. What's up, dude? Thunder Falcon's here. Saying hello to Zoe. Zoe's name does not have a Y on the end of it, by the way. We just spell it Zoe. Or the Rusty Bullseye Razorback. That one, the Bullseye Razorback. That one's got an interesting story behind it. Are they even selling that one? As a production model, because that one, that one was, there was a stretch there because Dimebag and Zakk Wylde were really, really close friends. And they got into this competition, giving each other guitars, trying to one up the other, of the one that they just received from the other guy, and it went on back and forth. It went on for years. And one of the ones that was exchanged was that Dimebag, I believe, gave Zakk Wylde it was a Dimebag signature Razorback, but it had Zakk Wylde's signature Bullseye paint scheme on the guitar. And a few other specs on it, I think, that were also to Zach's liking. And Zach is he's been seen playing that guitar quite a bit since he received it. Never been his main guitar, but it clearly has a very special meaning to him. So I wasn't aware that Dean actually started making that guitar as a production model. I thought that was a one-off, and Zach owned it, and that was the end of it. Let's see. JG Mopar says David Allan Coe has a Confederate flag dime-back guitar. Does he have the one that Dime played? I know that when they did the Rebel Meets Rebel project, when they did the video for that particular song, David Allan Coe was playing that guitar in the video, but I didn't realize that Dime had that David Allan Coe had somehow wound up with it as his profession. So B Smiley says, "Please do, Robert. It's yours." I don't know what you're referring to. What is mine? Joey Van Ostrand says, "I've been looking for a dime-back Confederate for a while. PC Police and Snowflakes can shove it." I'm not. Cool Guitar Gear says, "Looking forward to your demo review on the Fireman Distortion." Just uploaded that video yesterday. That one, when's that one go up? Week from Wednesday, I believe. So it'll be about 10 days or so before that one's available to be viewed. But matter of fact, it's sitting right here. This pedal kicks ass. This is a great pedal. I mean, I was really, really surprised with it. Really surprised. So, and it's what, $109, I think. GC has a white SLX DK with Fishman's on sale right now for $549. I've wanted for a while. It's in my cart. Need to pull the trigger. SLX. What? Oh, you must be a SLX Solo Dinky. I think it's a Jackson model you're talking about. Interesting. $549 with Fishman's? Wow. Thunder Falcon says, "RGD, do you like the EMG Hot 70 Retroactive series of pickups?" Yeah, I do. They were, I demoed the Schecter Sun Valley Super Shredder, the version with the Sustainiac in the neck position, about, I don't know. That's probably been a couple years ago now, but, the bridge pickup in that was a EMG Retroactive. I think it was a Hot 70. Yeah, and I thought that thing sounded great. It sounded just like something would have come out of the 80s, except active, obviously being EMG. But it's, yeah, no, honestly, I think it's EMG's long overdue for coming out for something like that. So yeah, I think they sound great. I enjoyed the ones that I've played. It's made me want one of those guitars for a while now. I just haven't gotten around to buying it, but one day I will. Joanna says, "Southern Rock, the Allman Brothers." Just to mention a few, Dwayne Allman, one of the greats. Dwayne Allman was a great guitar player, man. He was a great slide player. Great slide player. I think he played slide with a knife, if memory serves. He didn't always use a traditional guitar slide. He would, sometimes he used a knife or, a lot of times some other oddball stuff. It was just, handy laying around. Let's see. Marco Crocchiolo says, "Man, I'm not the heaviest handed player, but my new guitar came with nines. It feels like it's gonna break easy. First time in years I played nines. I always play nines, and I'm actually a pretty light handed guitar player, so you know." Most of my guitars have either 9 to 42 or 9 to 46 gauge strings on them. Some of the lower tuned guitars I'll go 10 to 46, maybe 10 to 52 or 10 to 48, 11 to 48 rather, or 10 to 48 in some cases, I guess. So I've always preferred lighter strings. I think that the tonal difference and heavier strings, makes what we've learned this year. One thing we've learned this year, it makes the bottom end a little bit looser with heavier strings, and I like the ease of playability and ease of bendability with lighter gauge strings. So I've even got one or two guitars that are tuned to E standard that have 8s on them. So, and I'm going to keep it that way for a while because, like I said, I rarely, not even playing light gauge strings like that, I rarely break them. I haven't broken a string in, I think I broke a string like a year or two ago, and that was the first time I'd broken one in probably 2 or 3 years, easy. So I never break strings. Uh-oh, Joey's going to buy a guitar. Dave Escobar says, for new gear, holding off and waiting for the GC returns after the holidays. I'm done buying gear, period, this year. I'm not buying anything till after January 1st. I don't want to, if I buy anything else, and I got to write it off on my taxes, and, if I don't have a whole lot of room left to write stuff off. I've got to show the IRS a profit at some point. So, Jack Rosas is here. Says, hello RGD. It's been a long time I was on your live stream. Nice to see you. Merry Christmas to you and all on this live stream. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Merry Christmas to you as well. Marco Crocchiolo says, I just wish to listen to a video. I just wish to listen to a video with Wild and Dimebag playing together. There's a couple of live videos. I know there was one live video I can think of in particular that I think it was I don't know, maybe it was an Ozfest or something like that. But Pantera were playing. It was the end of their set. And Zakk Wylde came out for the end of it. He didn't have a guitar with him or anything. He just came out on stage to hang out. While Dime were wrapping up. Dime and Pantera were wrapping up. May have been Damage Plan now that I think about it. Anyway, while they were wrapping up the end of their set, and they're doing the big long drawn out thing. With everybody wailing there at the end of the very last song, and Dime stops wailing, comes over and hands Zakk his guitar, and Zakk starts wailing on his guitar, leans back, and Dime starts pouring alcohol down his throat, and so they, I don't think they actually played, performed together. I don't know if they ever did, to be honest. There were some instances like the one I just described that hung out, that happened fairly frequently. Like I said, because they were really, really good friends. But I can't think of anything where they actually organized, it was an organized performance with the two of them together. I know there has been talk in the last couple of years of a Pantera reunion with Zakk Wylde, Zakk Wylde replacing, Zakk Wylde sitting in for Dimebag. But I think most of that discussion was going on before Vinnie Paul died. So, I think when Vinnie died, that probably killed the whole thing. Because, I don't know if I just don't know if Rex if Phil and Rex are gonna put the whole thing together. Plus, now they have to find a drummer, and I don't know who they would. I'm sure there's any number of people they could get to do it, but who the right pick would be. Zakk Wylde's obviously no question the right pick for the guy to replace Dimebag, but who to get to replace Vinnie Paul, that I don't know. Let's see. Marco Cracciolo says Cantrell said he had a Randall amplifier because Dimebag recommended to him. Well, Dimebag recommended Randall amps to everybody. That dude loved Randall amps. But that's it. Jerry Cantrell's amp collection is also pretty large. All of those. Especially Black. When they recorded Black Gives Way to Blue, there's some things on that album. Like I think Check My Brain, which is the first hit on that album that most people are familiar with. I think that the guitar track on that was tracked I think 11 times. I don't think he used 11 different amps. I think but he used 5 or 6 different amps. He was using Friedmans and JCM 800s and his old Bogners and Bogner Ecstasies and stuff that he's used for a long time. So I mean he's used a lot of stuff. Dave Escobar says, anxious to see your Angry Driver video, one of the few Boss pedals I haven't bought. I've been holding off on that one because, I've had some other things that I've been obligated to get done first. The Angry Driver I bought myself. That one I paid for with my own money. And bought that one for my friend Jim of Practical Guitars podcast. But regardless, I bought that one with my own money. And, I've had some other companies that... been fortunate enough to have some other companies that have sent me some stuff to demo, like the Fireman Distortion I just talked about. What else? The TL pedals, Honker Overdrive. I've still got another amp to do. Stuff like that. So I try to prioritize that over the stuff that I bought myself, and the Angry Driver's been out long enough now that a few more weeks isn't gonna affect anything as far as the market goes. The other reason is that pedal does a lot. Pardon me. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of knobs and stuff on that pedal, and it's gonna take a while. That video is gonna take some work. So, that combined with some other videos, I did 2 videos this week, and both of those were pretty in depth. It took up quite a few hours getting completed. So I need to, if I'm doing 2 videos a week, I need to do the Angry Driver at the same time as something else that I can do relatively, not quickly, but easily. So. Serenity Guitar says no, it was a one-off. He's talking about the Bullseye Razorback. Says 2 made, but Dime has one, and because the Dime had one, Zach had the other. I came across a guitar on the Book of Faces. It was a Razorback with an EVH paint scheme. That sounds like probably an aftermarket. Somebody did that after the fact, if I had to guess. There's no. I highly doubt Dean would be able to get the license to the EVH paint scheme, to be able to produce that guitar, even as a one-off. So, unless it's for anybody but Eddie, and or without Eddie's permission, and I think the only person Eddie would give permission to build that guitar to would be Dime, who's been gone for years now, and. Of course, Eddie's gone now, and that's not the kind of guitar Eddie Van Halen probably ever would have played anyway. God, the Razorback, that guitar is as big as he is. Joey Van Ostrom says I bought an HOK. That's the Hard Luck Kings guitars, the Spider, which I think that's their Firebird model, for $150. A hard shell case, light red. The quote unquote paint doesn't even seem like paint. I've heard nothing but hot and cold People either love those things and they've had great luck with them, or other people absolutely hate them and think they're garbage. Nothing in between. So I've reached out to them to see if they let me demo one, but that's not something they're into. I don't really see any guitar channels demoing the Hard Luck Kings guitars at all. So they turned me down as well. They seem to have no interest in it. I also don't like the fact that they won't ship. If you got to buy the case separate, which is fine. That I get, but they don't. They won't ship the guitar in the case. They'll put, and they do pull the guitar out of the box to set it up before they ship it, but they still ship both the guitar and the case separately for like $50 a piece. So you're paying $100 to get a guitar and a case shipped separately. I can't get on board with that. It'd save everybody a lot of hassle if they would just put the guitar in the case and ship it all in one box. JG Mopar says, I really like the Schecter Banshee. I need to get one. Banshees are cool. I can't remember if that's I think that's the set through, one of the set through models that they have right now. Kind of Schecter, hats off to Schecter. They do a real good job at updating the line as, times and trends change. But they are, I think here recently, I think like the Banshee is kind of their, I don't want to say replacement, because I think the Hellraisers are still being made, but the Banshees kind of seem to be like the Hellraisers 10, 15 years later, or Heckrazers for those that are politically correct. Tide says, why is it the Dimebag and Dino of Fear Factory were known for using solid state amps and really everyone else uses tubes? Those are two guys, Dimebag in particular, man. Dimebag was known to go against the grain on a lot of things. He was, especially back in the late 80s to early 90s, nobody was using Dean guitars. Dean guitars were just about broke. Dimebag was really about the only one that was keeping them afloat there at that point. Nobody was playing Dean guitars. Nobody was playing, Randall solid state amps, solid state amps of any kind, really, but, in particular, Randalls at that point. Those had all fallen way out of popularity, by the time the early 90s hit, when Pantera really started to get popular. So, Dimebag's always gone against the grain. He was using Bill Lawrence pickups, which, a lot of people weren't using back then. That's just how he that's just how he rolled. He didn't care about the trends. He didn't care about what other people thought of his gear. He was he could not have given a shit less about purchase validation. And that's also one reason why he sounded way different from everybody else. So, and to this day, you hear Pantera recording and what Dimebag sounded like. So yeah, that's just Dimebag. That's just what he did. He liked the solid state amps. They did what they did for him, what he needed them to do. And let's not forget he did start using tube amps there towards the end of his career before he was killed. He was because of him the crank amps got real popular. That was another brand that nobody had ever heard of before he started. Before they came out with the Frankenstein for him. Next question: are tubes really that much better? Tubes. The thing with solid state amps is, they're all transistor based. So there is a certain aspect of I don't know how to describe it. A digital sounding aspect to most solid state amps. Especially when you crank them. The tube amps tend to sound much more organic and probably the best example that I can think of. If you go play, go find like a Line 6 Spider 4 or something, play through one of those, and then go play through the Line 6, what do they call the tube version, the Spider Tube, I think it's just called, which is it's a tube amp. It's got the same, I don't know, it doesn't have the same preamp, but it's got the same digital effects engine in it, but that one does run on all tubes, so essentially you're playing this, the solid state and the tube version of virtually the same amp. Crank them both up and you tell me which one sounds better. Most people prefer tubes because they also tend to react better to the dynamics, the different dynamics of your playing. So I'm not an anti-solid state guy at all. By the way, I mean, almost daily I get on, I get on the interwebs and see if I can, if I can't snag a good deal on, like a, there's, matter of fact, I'm not gonna reveal which solid state amps I'm looking for right now because I'm gonna use that, that's a surprise video that I have planned once I find it. But, even like some hybrid amps like the Marshall Mode 4. Still kicking myself for that deal that I passed up on a few months ago. Stuff like that. So, I am not anti solid state by any means. I think there's a lot of great solid state amps out there. But generally I do prefer, most of the amps I prefer tube. Joey Van Ostrin says, plenty of companies never turn a profit. The best advice my accountant gave me is be honest, keep receipts, and never go in the black. That's true, but there also is a point where the IRS considers, what I do. Eventually they're going to consider it to be a hobby. And, that's not good. I don't understand all the ins and outs. I'm not an accountant. I'm not a tax expert or anything like that, but... hey, speaking of Jim Woodard, he is here. What's up, dude? How are you? Let's see. Hadley's got McIntyre still here, but he's been quiet. Oh, let's see. Archer's here says, Robert, a few YouTubers are having problems with their accounts with regards to monetary donations. Is it all good on your end? I haven't noticed any. I haven't noticed any problems. Everything's, there's been a couple of people that have hit the super chat button here today. Nobody's mentioned it here in the chat so far. So, yeah, I haven't noticed anything, but the truth is my super chat button doesn't get hit all that often. So, the larger channels, the Pete Thorns and those guys that have pretty significant live stream shows, it could very well be an issue going on. I know Google's had its issues this week, so it's plausible and some of that stuff could have bled over to the YouTube side as well. Jack Collins says, Robert, I love my 9s and my Jacksons. My list pause, and everything with thicker necks, I have 10s. Yep, I don't necessarily go by neck profile, but I go by where I keep them tuned. Most of the guitars I have, usually I prefer thin necks. Not opposed to fat necks, but if I have my choice, I prefer thin neck. Marco Cracciolo says, have you listened to the Founders Honors Alice in Chains? I have not. I'm not. Matter of fact, that's the first I've heard of it. I'm not familiar with it at all, unfortunately. Guitar Sickness says, hey, Robert, have you seen the new Colossus guitar kits? Yes, I have. though that's not one of the kits. That's one of their regular production model guitars. Which you guys will see that one tomorrow. Let's see. Joey Van Ostrom says the HLK seems alright. The neck is a baseball bat bigger than my Epi Zach. I won't buy one new for a full price, but for $150 it was well worth it. Yeah, I wouldn't. Honestly, I wouldn't buy any of their guitars unless it was a clearance deal. You know, they seem to run clearance deals all the time. I was considered one of their Strat models for a while, and you know, like I said, by the time I got done paying, you know, another $100 for the case and an extra $50 to ship that thing, you know, I couldn't justify it. So, JD Mopar says the HLK guys are a bit strange. Their shipping is a joke and they're not friendly. I have one's decent neck is thick, 20 minutes away from them. They said internet only, no picking up at factory. That's, you know, I don't have a problem with the, you know, with them not accepting walk-in business. I mean, there's a lot of companies that do that. You know, here in Indianapolis, there's when I was at the store Guitar Center, you know, there's a big Guitar Center warehouse, you know, out on the west side of town. And, you know, we would have people coming in all the time saying, I live real close to there. If you guys don't have it, I can go swing by the warehouse on the way home. Well, no, you can't. They don't accept walk-in. You know, that's not open to walk-in customers. So, I mean, that's, you know, in that instance, that's not where, that doesn't matter. But, you know, there's a lot of warehouses that just don't accept walk-in business. Even, you know, yes, it would be convenient for, you know, might be convenient for the customer, but it's not convenient for the company. And, you know, it violates a lot of, you know, for a lot of companies, it violates a lot of loss prevention policies that they have in place for a reason. So, you know, that part I don't have a problem with, but the, you know, but I have heard some weird stuff about I've heard, you know, the customer service being a little iffy. You know, the main guy, I can't remember the main guy's name, Mike something or other, but, you know, their marketing, I'm not on, you know, he calls their customers, you know, hey, all you rat bastards, you know, it just, and that, you know, that market, it just makes me cringe. You know, I mean, you can't come up with a better tagline for your product and to address your customer base and your fans than that. I mean, it's just tasteless and classless, and you know, I was like, I don't get it. So that's another thing that really turned me off of them. JG Mopar says HOK charged me the same cost shipping as if it was going across the country. That's where they make up their cost in shipping. Shipping was almost the same as the cost of guitar. A note earlier in the thread, JG Mopar said he lives 20 minutes away from him, and they charged him the same amount they would have charged somebody, you know, for a guitar going to New York, $50 to ship it across town. That's bullshit. Marco Graciolo says, have you tried a boost pedal called the Draconis? It's amazing. I use it every time. I have not. Are you talking about the Wampler? There's a Wampler distortion pedal. No, I'm sorry. That's the Dracaris, I think is what that's called. That's their metal distortion. The Draconis, I've heard of it. I'm not familiar with it. I don't even know who makes it. I think I've heard of it, but that's the extent of my knowledge on it. Unfortunately, I haven't tried it. And I don't have any insight on it. Majestic PB&J Cat, the Spider Valve. That's right. It's called the Spider Valve amps. Thank you. I don't know why that slipped my mind. Bogner designed. Thunder Falcon said, I might have a Marshall Mode 4 half stack for you. Let me check the store. I don't know. Well, God, I don't know. I guess for the right price, I might have to take the cab with it. Those cabs are awesome. But I would be perfectly happy with just the head. Again, got to be a good price. I'm not, I've got a number in my head that I want to pay for one of those, and I'm not going over it. So. There's a guy, bargainmusician.com, who was really nice. He sells kits. He used to sell guitars, same basic area as HOK, but he'll let you go to the factory, pick up, and ships free. Bargainmusician.com. Let's go check those folks out, shall we? Tell you what, I'll bring you guys with me for this so we can all see what we're talking about here. Let's see if I can type around this microphone. And move it right there. Bargainmusician.com. Google seems to be familiar with them. Oh, I see. Okay, so they build, they make, as you said, guitar kits. Pinion guitars. Those kind of look like maybe bare knuckle pickup clones or something. Oh, I see. So they're kind of, looks like they're kind of along the lines of a guitar fetish or something like that. Parts, pickups, kits, straps, cables. Amplifiers, practice amps. Yes. Okay, cool. Let's see what the kits costs. $150, $200 roughly. That one's kind of cool. Oh yeah, I might be able to get on board with that. That's like a set neck version, or that's a hollow body. Okay, I like that wood though. Looks like a spalted maple, something or other. There's Firebird, bolt on. Looks like everything's already pre-drilled too, so there's no guesswork involved in that. There we go. There's a set neck, Explorer-ish looking something or other. Looks like, anyway. Yeah. That'd be pretty cool. You got a coffin guitar. Speaking of Zakk Wylde. There's some cool stuff on there. Looks like that would be the one that I would go for. $180. Basswood body. Okay. So relatively lightweight probably. 24 3/4 inch scale, 22 frets. Pair of humbuggies. Huh, cool. Interesting. Let's see. Marco Crociolo said Dean should make an e-statue or a statue to thank Dime. I've never been there. I'm sure they've got some kind of tribute to him, man. I mean, Dimebag pretty much rescued that brand. I know they did go defunct there for a while he was, during his career, which is why he went to Washburn briefly. But William H. Bonney says, talk about the JP and you'll see all kinds of problems. The JP, I don't know what, JP, John Petrucci? I don't know what you're referring to. Archer, whatever you do, don't talk about COVID. Let's see. Guitar Sickness, cool. What are your thoughts on Colossus? I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna make you wait and see the video on that tomorrow. So And I did have a lot of thoughts on it, but I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna make you wait and I'm gonna make you wait and see the video. Let's see. JD Mopar HLK clearance. I paid $119 for guitar at $80 to ship it 40 miles. Wow. Jack Rosa says, "Would you buy a guitar or bass on eBay?" Yeah, I have before, and I've generally had good experiences. I don't buy a lot of stuff on on eBay, but I mean, for the most part, I've generally had pretty good experiences doing so. No horror stories. No guitars arriving with broken headstocks or anything like that. Not for me. I've certainly seen it happen, but me, my own personal purchases, I haven't run into any problems at all. So, yeah, overall, been I've had pretty good experiences on eBay. So and they seem to have lowered their selling rates too. So I've actually sold a thing or two on there recently that I wouldn't have before, especially with Reverb cranking up their prices. I'm starting to flock a little bit more towards eBay. I list a few. I've got a few things listed on Facebook Marketplace right now, but they don't seem to have. They either sell. I put some up on there. They either sell immediately, or they sit there and rot. I've got 2 items for sale up there sitting right now for sale that have been there for weeks, and both priced fairly, and they're just sitting there with no interest. And one of them's a cheap USB mic. DD Paranormal and F Sharp says, "Hello, everyone from Boston. What's up, dude? How are you? Guitar sickness is out, man. Have a great day. Have a great holiday." JG Mopar, you guys are still talking to Hard Luck Kings Guitars. William De Silva likes the Iceman from bargainmusician.com. So many guitars. You guys are still talking kits. Dave Escobar says, "Merry Christmas. Have a good one. Going to get some barbecue for lunch. See you on your next stream." Thank you, sir. Thank you for hanging out, man. Enjoy the barbecue wherever you're going for it. I think I'm ordering Chipotle as soon as we're done here. I kind of feel like a burrito for lunch. Of course, I often feel like burritos because I love burritos. Burritos are greater than tacos because they're bigger. Joey Van Ostrens has got to run, but message me anyways. If it's on the market, I might jump on it. I excel at impulse buys. I think you guys are still talking kit guitars. Archer, any good sites that explain and teach about pedal order? Oh man, I mean, there's really. I did a video on it recently. JG Bompar says, "Get a few tacos on the side of the burrito." That's not a bad idea. Good call, dude. Sites that explain pedal order. I can't think of any sites off the top of my head. I did a video on it recently. That's may or may not help. There's Let me see if I can find the link to the video. If I can, I'll post it in the chat for you, and you can check it out. You know, or content. How to arrange your pedal effects. There we go. Get shareable link. Let me go back to that tab. And there it is. So, yeah, so check out that link that I just posted there in the chat. You know, that's the video that I did on that very subject here just a month or two ago, really. And, you know, see if it helps. I mean, there's really no right or wrong. There's no wrong answers. You know, but traditionally, traditionally the way to do it is outlined in that video. So. Thunder Falcon says they make. I'm not going to read that just in case there's anybody who's going to get offended, but I'm not going to read it out loud anyway. William Silva says, I always buy a bowl, then get tortillas on the side and make my own soft tacos or burritos, my Chipotle. Not bad. Not a bad idea. I'm usually really I'm a Qdoba guy. I love Qdoba, and me and the missus, that's our weekly TV date night always involves Qdoba. And, so Qdoba is my favorite, but, I happen to have gift cards to Chipotle here right in front of me, and they deliver for $1, they say. So for some reason, my order at Chipotle always seems to be, quite a bit more expensive than it is at Qdoba, and they're real similar. So I think Chipotle is generally a little bit more expensive, but it's all right though. So especially be okay if I don't have to go get it, because it is Saturday. I am, after this live stream is over, I am done with my YouTube responsibilities for the week, and I have, I think I have all of the, all of my we're in the middle of refinancing our house right now too, so I think I also have, all of my paperwork and responsibilities regarding that process out of the way for the time being until they tell me they need more signatures or something. And yeah, so I am going to probably get caught up in my DVR a little bit, and I'm gonna play some more, sling some more webs on my Spider-Man game on PS4, since PS5 still out of stock everywhere. Don't have a PS5 yet. Hope, can't find them. Not getting gouged on price for one either. Every time I see somebody selling one on, Facebook Marketplace or wherever it is they're selling it, trying to get, $1,000 or something for it, I always offer them $4.99. Always. Yeah, so yeah, Thunder Falcon. Yeah, that means email me if email me about that Mode 4. You got me curious about that now. If you got one anyway. So Jack Collins says, Robert, what do you think my Dimeback Door Razorback Edition with skulls on it is worth? The only scratches on it, only scratches is on it come from the guitar strap. Yeah, and again, without knowing exactly which model you've got, I know it's the skull finish, but that's all I know about it. So, and there's been so many Razorbacks that have come out over the years. I couldn't tell you, and I'm not sure I'd want to begin to guess. I'm off the top of my head, I'm guessing 600 to 800 range, but again, I don't know. I don't even know what it costs brand new. I have literally nothing, no other information to go off of. So, I was look it up on eBay, check completed listings, and see what they're actually selling for. That'll give you a pretty good starting point, I think. So, and check it out, Pete Thorne is starting a premiere. I can't figure out that. One thing I hate about those damn premieres, I gave up on them because I can't just go in and I can set it, but I can set it to go, to set up a half hour before a video goes live. But as soon as I do that, the room for it automatically opens. So if I'm doing it 2 weeks in advance, then I got the room for it open for 2 weeks and nobody cares, by the time it rolls around. So. YouTube needs to fix that. William H. Bonney says PC beats PS, as in PC beats PlayStation. I think it depends on the PC, but regardless, I used to, I played a lot of PC games when I was younger. Full Throttle. I loved Full Throttle. I played a lot of the Star Wars games. This is all back in the 90s. What else? I loved the Tex Murphy games, like Under a Killing Moon and the Pandora Directive. Those are great. I love those games. But now that I'm older, the one thing that PC games has that, or I'm sorry, the one thing that one thing anyway. There's a lot of things, but one advantage to PlayStation over PC is I could do it while laying down on my couch. PC, I got to do it from sitting in this chair, and I spend so many hours a week sitting in an office chair. I don't want to sit in an office chair to play video games. So I want to sit on my couch and shut my phone off and all that and zone out and go be Spider-Man for hours on end. JD Mopar says, I'm still stuck on my old Sega Genesis. Those are worth some money now, though, dude. All those old gaming systems, all of a sudden there's a collector's market for those now. Joe Ennis says, how many hours a week do you practice playing guitar? Nowadays, almost none, if any, because so much of my time is, I gotta, without going into all the, everything going on in my life. I got a full-time job. I've got a family. I've got regular, life responsibilities, and I put in a lot of hours, in this YouTube thing. A lot of hours go into this. So, probably, I don't know. One video, to produce one video on average is probably, start to finish, including time to set up cameras and, writing the tracks and, and creating, the tracks, recording all that, all the audio, stuff that goes with it, the editing of the video, the uploading it to YouTube, and making sure that all of the making sure all the tags are correct, all the info and the description is what it needs to be, all the all the metadata, all that stuff is probably somewhere in the neighborhood of about 6 to 8 hours, closer to 8, for one video on average when it's all said and done. So, there's a lot of time that goes into this, so multiply that times 2, tack on another, these live streams are usually due for a couple hours, and then, factor in another half hour or so for everything that goes into, into starting and finishing that, like setting up the camera and, plugging everything in and routing cables and lighting and all that stuff. Like I said, there's a lot of, I put a lot of time into this. So, I really don't have a whole lot of, the opportunities I have to sit down and just play guitar for my own enjoyment, are not as, I don't have as much time as I used to. So, but that's the current state. When I was younger, before I started doing YouTube and I had a lot of time to play guitar, when this, that changed, that fluctuated as well, depending on if I was, if I was playing in a band, I would, I would actually spend a lot of time, working on learning songs and stuff on my own so that I was ready to go for band practice when that time came around. So I would have specific goals of things I needed to work on, needed to learn while I sat down and practiced. And if there was stuff that if it was a period that I wasn't playing in a band and I was literally just sitting down to play guitar for my own enjoyment, I would sit down and do that for half hour, almost daily. So I do miss getting to do that, but like I said, life has changed and life gets busier as you get older. So, which also means, unfortunately for me, I'm probably about as good of a guitar player as I'm ever going to get at 43. So, JG Mopar raises a good question. Said, does playing count as practice? I hate to practice, but love to play. Yeah. So, that's it. Most of the time that I get to play guitar, you guys see it because I'm usually sitting in front of a camera doing it. So, yeah, that's not all that. There's cuts and takes and retakes and stuff like that that don't make it into the actual video. But generally speaking, most of the time that I spend playing guitar is usually when I'm recording a video. So. Maybe this channel one day will grow big enough that I'll have I'll get to hire a whole big, crew of people to produce this thing every week, and and then I will have more time and and money and resources and stuff to do that. But for right now, as long as I'm a one-man show, it's a lot of work. All right, guys. I appreciate you guys coming to hang out for a bit here this afternoon, morning, evening, depending on what part of the world you're in. Don't forget to check out the video tomorrow morning because it is a good one. I think you guys are going to enjoy it. That goes up at 10 a.m. Eastern time, I believe. And again, your support via PayPal, Super Chat, any of that stuff is always greatly, greatly, greatly appreciated, and really does go a long way, especially in these times, especially this time of year. So, yeah, I'm off. I'm going to go order a burrito and maybe some tacos too. Adios.